Welcome everyone, and congratulations for being the brave ones to come out tonight. I'm surprised so many of you did, as we saw people kind of leave the city earlier on this afternoon. Before we start, a couple of things you need to know. We have toilets just around the corner here on the right before you go into the foyer. And in the unlikely event of an earthquake, drop, cover and hold and wait further instruction. And Hayley will create that further instruction for you. Yeah. Look, I think that it's no secret, right? The last 2 years have been quite challenging. Being in recruitment, I guess we see the best and the worst of it. And I think that we found ourselves kind of working harder, working longer, wearing more hats, but we're still here and we're still showing up. And I think that's a testament to all of us really, and we need to acknowledge that. But the question is, how do we keep turning up and making sure that we've got the tools to avoid burnout, because 2 years, 2.5 years is a long time, and I think it'd be fair to say there's no one in this room, looking at age, that would have experienced anything of this, this timeline before. What we, obviously what we want to do is I guess give you the opportunity to learn some tricks. This is why we've brought Sally Duxfield in. We've worked with Sally previously on a couple of occasions, and we've worked internally with her. She's had 30 years of experience, give or take, and she's really kind of worked out, I guess, some of the techniques not from a theory perspective, but more from a practical application perspective on how to deal with stress, being overwhelmed, and sleep. And she has previously worked with the likes of New Zealand Rugby, New Zealand Defence, plus a whole heap of corporates. And she's spent a lot of time understanding, I guess, the neuroscience behind, I guess, the effects on the brain and on our bodies of when we're under pressure. And her mission is to, I guess, give us the tools to be able to I guess live a more kind of joyful, purposeful life with energy, even when we're under pressure. And so look, you'll have an opportunity at the end of today to ask some questions. I think the way you apply is just. It's just very, very practical. And when we first met and listened to what you had to say, I'm still doing a lot of the stuff that Sally advised and said, this is a good idea, including cold showers. I think it's working. So I'm here.
You're looking spectacular.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So without further ado, Sally Duxfield.
Thank you very much. I don't normally ever speak from notes, but I normally speak for about 6 hours. So we have notes tonight to keep me on task. We're going to speak tonight to the neuroscience of stress, actually understanding what the stress response is and what it physically does to your body. We're going to look at how to control that stress response. We're going to be really curious about your phone habits and your device habits and your smart watches, which are destroying us slowly, and talk about that hamster wheel that you believe, it's a belief that we're on this hamster wheel and we can't get off, and in fact we've got so many external distractions. And we're going to look at sleep mastery, because who would say that they don't sleep well? Who would say that they sleep well? Do you have data? Or are you just slightly delusional? Yeah. But you feel amazing. So as long as you feel amazing, most people are slightly delusional. They go, I have 6 beers and I sleep like a log. It's called coma. And then we're really quickly going to look at my model, the Impact 4Q model, which is about running the rhythms of your day so that you could end up working a 100-hour week and still feel refreshed. So you're working as a corporate athlete. So that's sort of where we're going. And I'm going to try and talk for about an hour, which is incredibly difficult. Very quickly, my background as a military operations officer. So 1982, like I'm old, I'm near death. 1982, joined the Army Aviation Unit as a door gunner on the Iroquois helicopter, first female down at 3-2 Battery. Did my gunnery training, came back to Hobsonville to the helicopters, saw Air Force pilots versus Army soldiers and decided, good change of unit. So I came across to the Air Force, much more handsome, and spent 16 years within that environment, was the edge at the fighter base for 3 years and ended up as the flight commander and then acting OC of the operations unit. So an operational background. We studied psychology as officers. That was our drive. But psychology didn't answer why really, really smart people became stupid under stress. And you'll know this, right? In this room, don't look at each other and point, but in this room, there'll be people who you know are highly intelligent, and then one day you look at them, you're like, how did you make that decision? Because in that moment, they were cognitively stupid and made a decision that was really poor, but because of the stress overload, they were unable to step back from that stress and tone down that stress. Really funny, and this is completely inappropriate, but I saw this little microphone here. Earlier this year, I was at the Women's Expo over here. I've got an eco retreat up here, and Makahika Outdoor Centre. I don't know if any of you children have come up to Makahika. That's my centre. It's run by a team, but I was at the centre here, and I was looking for a microphone. I thought, oh, this is cool. There was this little stand that had all these coloured microphones. So this is amazing. And then there was these headpieces that went around from here to here, and I thought I must go and talk to these ladies. And then I saw them set up, and then I went over and I'm like, that's a vibrator. It looked like, and this is one for your woo-woo and this is one for your bum. And I was like, oh, can you imagine me hopping on stage with my vibrator and my thing? So I don't do microphones anymore. So, sorry, Richard. Just have to take it down a notch. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's funny. So what I want you to do really quickly is understand the neuroscience of our major drivers, our stress response, our limbic drivers, which are cortisol and adrenaline. And neither are bad. In fact, adrenaline is just energy. So on the premise that you've slept well, you will wake up in the morning with really naturally high levels of adrenaline. And we only use adrenaline for about 0.02% of our lives for fight flight. The rest of the time, adrenaline is just energy. But we have this perception that too much adrenaline is bad for us, and it's actually our everyday energy. But if you miss the first phase of sleep, and we're going to talk about the phases of sleep, if you miss that first phase of sleep, you will wake up with a lack of adrenaline, a lack of energy, and that overwhelmed feeling in the morning, and the hamsters start running before you even get out of bed, and we'll talk about that phase. Cortisol is also tied up with that fight-flight response, but cortisol is just releasing sugar, glucose into your system. So that's all cortisol's doing. It's making sure you've got a readily available source of glucose. But we can get too much cortisol, and that particularly in women are menopausal, and I'm not even going to start on that with the men in the room. At some stage I'll get there, because we don't sleep, and alcohol, unfortunately, ladies, I've just popped your bubble. Alcohol is hugely detrimental to us during menopause, but it's also the source of the most pleasure that we have in our life. Not that you men aren't, of course, or the other woman in the room, but if we're a beautifully gay couple, lesbian girls, and we're going to be drinking together, because that's the best thing. So we've got to be really aware of the detriment and the benefit of these things. So cortisol, stress makes us sharp. It's performance enhancing. So if we've got stress in our life, it's actually competitive, it's out there, and it gives us the edge because we've got this high energy. But when we don't step down from the distractions, and that's what I want to talk to you about, is the distractions in your life. I'm just going to rip off my coat because I'm just getting excited about talking about this stuff. Pop it around there. Distractions are what is causing, and this hump is not natural, it's not my battery, it's the phone battery, just so you don't know that I don't have a hump. This is why it stayed on. I thought you'd put it onto my jacket. So the distractions that we have is what is actually causing us the overwhelm. I did some filming a few years ago up in Dubai, and that filming was for a hotel business centre. And we had 50 people, and they had to work on a keyboard with 2 screens and have their phone on their dominant hand. And we were using eye tracking technology to follow pupil dilation and movement, and we were filming the movement of their hands. And they were allowed to have their phone on that dominant hand with all its bells and whistles, but they weren't allowed to touch it for 1 hour. They weren't allowed to interact with their smartphone. Yeah. And then I've got ADHD. No, fucking haven't. You haven't. Sorry, edit that bit out. But let's talk about this. So what we had is 50 people, and over the course of an hour, on average, they touched their phone 57 times, their screen 57 times on average, and they weren't allowed to touch their phone. When the psychologist debriefed them, about 60% said categorically, I did not touch my phone. Yes, you did, at least 57 times. And the 2 men that touched their phone over 130 times nearly had fistfights with a psychologist because they definitely didn't touch their phone. But your neuro pathway is so formed, it is so strong between this dominant hand and your phone that you don't even know that you're doing it. So that in itself is dopamine. As soon as I touch that, that's dopamine. And dopamine is motivation and forward movement. But it's also more addictive than alcohol and nicotine. So now I'm on cocaine. So every time I touch my phone, a little bit of cocaine, like a little stoner. That's why your children are all completely stoned, because they're literally... Have you taken a device off your child? What happens? What does it do? It has a shit fit, right? It just melts on the floor, illogically melts, and we're all held. These are the terrorists. Children are terrorists because of this dopamine addiction. And so what we've got to be really careful is the other statement I hear all the time from this industry and other industries is, I'm doing more with less. I have less, and I'm just doing more and more and more and more, and I'm overloaded. In fact, I challenge you to look at your day. I challenge you that I'd say about 25 to 27% is what the data is showing of your day is actually spent interacting with your devices. So you'll be typing away something or dictating something or whatever you do with ChatGPT 5. Mine's name's Cheryl with a C. And you'll be typing away, and then you'll get a little ding, a little notification, you'll pick up your phone and you'll go, and the next minute, oh, that's a cool reel. Look at that bulldog on a skateboard. Like you just all of a sudden have dipped off and you didn't even know, and you've answered 3 texts, 4 messages, answered some more emails because they're up there, but they're also here. So you've done that, and then your phone goes, and then you answer some there. And you're literally dopamining your way around the world for about 30% of your day, which is all distracting you from doing primary work. And remember, the brain's really simple. It likes to do one thing at once. And women, we always say that we multitask. We don't. We just change synapses quicker than men. We know that, don't we? We're just quicker. So we can't multitask, but we do one thing at once. So when that will come back to dopamine, when cortisol hits us, it shuts down, the first thing it does is it shuts down our hearing and our vision. So we get what's called auditory exclusion by about 32 up to 60%. And what I mean by that is, if we use rugby as our metaphor, you'll watch under stress, our passes go to crap, right? We can't make our passes stick. And a rugby game under stress gets played up the middle. We stop using the wingers as a generalisation. When we lose it, we come back to the middle and our passes don't stick. So we've got auditory exclusion. We can't hear the winger calling for the ball. And now our vision has gone from about 210 degrees to 70 to 90 degrees. So now when I can look here and pass here, now under stress, I actually have to turn my head to see where I'm passing because this is physically grey. This is all gone grey. And some of you will have driven through a Wellington intersection and got to the other side and go, I can't remember driving through that set of traffic lights. Who's done that, right? And so in a rugby game, as soon as we turn ahead, we'll have an intercept. So if we count the number of intercepts from a young player or a junior player, that will tell us their ability to have stood back from that red head, that overwhelmed head, to that blue head. So that's what it's doing. In the office, when you walk in the morning and you just want to get something done and you just walk in and you're like this, face like a slap bum, and you're just walking in, first of all, everybody is subconsciously reacting to your face. It's like your children and it's like your partner. And this is why sometimes, men, have you ever tried to look for something in the cupboard and can't find it? Have you experienced that? Just a man's look? Have you experienced that? And what that is that your face caused him to be under stress. So it's not your fault. So that's what it's doing. So in your office, when you've got, do you remember as a young person going to somebody's door who's more senior to you and you're not quite nervous and you're going to the door and they look up and they're like, what? And you're like, oh, strawberries and tomatoes. Because you actually can't think on the spot, or 20 minutes after a conversation, you get back to your desk and you say to your friend, I should have said that. I wish I'd said that. Have you remembered that, had that experience? Where all of a sudden, so your prefrontal cortex is also shut down by about 40 to 60%. So under pressure, you are 60% more stupid than you were 2 minutes ago. And I don't know what your baseline is. So stress is actually making us as an organisation unable to make really good decisions in the moment, but we can step back from that. And so that cortisol response is actually to focus on the perceived danger that's sitting in front of us, because as far as the subconscious brain, the primal brain wants to keep you safe first, which is why it says, I think you should worry about the stuff all night, particularly at 2 a.m. in the morning. I think you should worry about it then, which is completely logical. So at 2 p.m. it's not important to you, but it's really important at 2 a.m. Who's experienced that? It's like, what am I doing? And so this is what all of these neurotransmitters and modulators are doing. They're trying to get you to be safe and they're trying to focus on the perceived danger that's in front of you. Every time your watch vibrates, even in this room now, if I saw your screen light up, my noradrenaline, my norepinephrine, would go up because your screen has lit up. Because my subconscious goes, she's not going to be listening to me because her hand's vibrating. So even in the office when this is vibrating and you're talking to somebody, you're getting slowly agitated because somebody else's phone is lighting up, their screen's lighting up. Every time your phone vibrates, every time you look at your phone and there's a little red dot to say that you've missed notifications, your subconscious is producing noradrenaline. And noradrenaline is a fascinating neurotransmitter. It goes from focus and flow, and you'll all know this, in that workspace where you're just doing something and you look at the time and go, oh my God, look at the time. Like time is dilated and you've been in moment. And I mean, if anyone play golf? Oh, I know. Yeah, it's on that day, that one day of your life that you can play golf, that one day, and you just can't not hit it and you're like, oh, I can play golf. Like I was in flow, and tomorrow you can't, but that's flow. Yeah, it'll come. So flow and norepinephrine is neurotransmitters like adrenaline for energy, dopamine for motivation, acetylcholine for focus, this cocktail of neurotransmitters to keep you in flow. And that's where you want to be working, but not all the time. You only want to be there for a couple of drops during the day. The rest of the time is chaos and hamsters and monkeys, because that's life. But you want these moments of genius where you're getting big work done without distractions and you're in flow. So that's norepinephrine. The next loading of norepinephrine is you waiting for your shinking. Do you know what shinking is? Where you've been shopping and drinking. And stuff arrives in the post, you've got no idea what's in it, and you're really excited about undoing the courier package because you don't know what you bought 3 nights before. That's shinking. And so it's the kids getting an ice cream on Saturday morning. It's that excitement. That's norepinephrine, and it's like, I'm excited. The next layer, which you might see, who's got teenagers? Teenage girls? This is what you see in them, which is hypervigilance and an inappropriate response to so what you've presented, the reaction is disproportionate to what you said, like they're feral. Like children just bring a little bit of sick to the front of my mouth. So I've got an outdoor centre and there's 100 kids a day in there, but I have nothing to do with them. And so this is hypervigilance, and this is what you're getting in your young children now. What if, Daddy, what if it rains today and I get wet? What if I get COVID? What if? It's this what if, and it's just not logical and it's reactive. And that's the first phase of that stress response, that first phase of that feeling anxious. And be really careful with our words. We don't have anxiety, we are anxious. Unless we're clinically diagnosed with a medical condition, which is anxiety, then we are anxious. And we could replace anxious with concerned or worried. And we need to be careful with language when we say to children, are you anxious about that, darling? No, they're just a little bit worried because they haven't done it before. That's a normal human feeling. But this total societal, we're all anxious, I think is causing us some friction. And it's actually distracting. It's like the overdiagnosis of ADHD. It's distracting from those that actually have ADHD and that need the support and the systems and can't get it because the medical system's overwhelmed. So that's hypervigilance. The next loading of ADHD is when on waking, before our feet have any got on the ground, even hit the ground, we are going, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too stupid. What if that deal's got to go through today? Oh my gosh, and you just absolutely on fire, hamsters running around your head. And you also did that at 2 a.m. in the morning. And so you're waking up on the back foot and you're worried before you even get out of your bedroom in your house. And there's many, many teenagers like that because of the lack of sleep. All of this has a correlation to the sleep process, which we're going to have a little look at. What I want to segue into now is how do you retain executive control of that prefrontal cortex under stress? And there's some really clear protocols that you can implement in your day that just means that right now I'm going to have a moment of focus. And we'll come, as I said, to my impact model that will talk about designing your day, a biologically strong day. But what we've got to remember is that from a neurobiology point of view, we have phasic parts of our day. So does anyone listen to Dr. Andrew Huberman? Yeah, should. Phenomenal. Though often his 3 hours are a little bit over your head. I adore them. But what I'm going to do shortly, my podcast will come out shortly, the Overwhelm Antidote, and I'll be blinkisting all of those top guys, so Peter Attia, Huberman, all of those guys, and we'll be doing some short segments. But if you look at your day, it starts from zero, from waking, to about 9 hours later. That's your first phase of your day. And Dr. Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist, very, very creative, calls it phase 1. I call it activation, slightly more creative. So in that activation stage, you should have really, really high levels of adrenaline and really, really good levels of dopamine for motivation. So naturally high. You can increase that adrenaline by using cold water, and not ice immersion, but just a cold towel to your shower will increase your adrenaline. And this is the rude bit, so we know this, but anything that makes your ass clench is adrenaline based. So if you step in front of a car and go, ooh, that's adrenaline, right? So think of anything that makes your bottom clench, and that's adrenaline based. Cold water. You're all doing it now. I can see all your little cheeks going, oh, cold. Anything that does that will shoot up the levels of adrenaline and drop it rapidly, like within seconds, 8 to 9 seconds, that adrenaline will have dropped right back down. And then you'll get a 3 to 4 hour dopamine tail that lasts till almost lunchtime. So you'll get this really, really strong, steady increase of dopamine, which we would use in clinical circumstances to treat clinical anxiety or clinical depression. So we'd use an ice bath to trigger that response. But you can do it at home just by a 30-second towel on your shower. I'm not saying go in and just turn the shower off cold, start it over a couple of weeks and just get it a little bit cold so there's just a little bit of a clench and then just a little bit more until you're getting that 30 seconds to a minute, and you will be blown away by how invigorated you feel out of that. And that is the adrenal response followed by this really strong motivation tail. So that's something that you can do. The next phase of our day, and you can accentuate this with caffeine. Caffeine is phenomenal for performance. They're talking, the general consensus out there from the neuroscientists is give yourself from waking about an hour before that first consumption. I'm not that person, I mainstream. Has anyone tried before you speak performance coffee? Oh, you have to try it. It's called Before You Speak, performance coffee, and it's got MCG oil, ginseng, and something else phenomenal come to me, and it's like the most delicious with a little dash of cream, so you don't have any problems if you're fasting. Absolutely phenomenal. But coffee, about an hour later, will actually allow some of that cortisol that is still in your system to decrease, and you won't get an overload. But I still like coffee first thing in the morning. You choose how you feel about it. Coffee, though, has a 10-hour half-life. So what that means is 10 hours after drinking a cup of coffee, you have 50% of the caffeine still in your system. So if you're having coffee late afternoon, and then there'll be, absolutely no, you'll be sitting here and you go, I can drink coffee after dinner and I'm fine. I know you're doing that. I can see it. But you will be, but your sleep cycle won't. So if you get the data, you'll see that you haven't entered lymphatic sleep and it's seriously affected your sleep phases, particularly your REM sleep, which is your therapy sleep, which is why you might be a little bit feral in the morning. So, and we'll come back to those sleep cycles. So coffee in the morning, preload as much. If you have 5 cups a day, I want you to have 5 cups a day from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. I want you to just load it in the morning. I don't want you to decrease your caffeine. I just want you to chunk it and then stop in the afternoon and hydrate and walk and do a whole bunch of other things. So to decrease that stress response, one of the key things is that prioritization of right now, in this moment, what is the one thing that I will do that will bring me 80% of the effect that I need today? So what's the one thing? And everything else is going on. But you also need to be really disciplined about your devices. And when you're doing that one thing, this is turned off. The phone is handed to somebody else or is on airplane mode just for that short period of time. And we'll talk about how to do that. Brain dump, nothing better than being able to write on a piece of paper rather than your phone. Actually, you're physically using a piece of paper and a pencil because it makes a sound and getting everything that's out of your brain, particularly at 2 o'clock in the morning. So don't pick up that phone, and we're going to talk about that sleep, but start writing stuff down, and the brain hears the sound of the pencil on the paper and goes, you're a clever soldier, you've just captured that idea, I can stop worrying about it, and it releases it, and basically it stops that cortisol response and that norepinephrine of worrying stuff to death. So one thing at a time is essential. That brain dump, I like to use tailgates in the morning for my team. Who has meetings in the morning? Does anyone have consistent meetings every morning? What's your thoughts? Okay, too long, beneficial, maybe less? Beneficial, as long as it's beneficial. So the tailgate for me comes from my time working in consultancy with the farming industry, where I'd be out with these hairy-ass men on these farms and they're like, oh, I'm going to have a meeting with you. And you just drop the tailgate and you talk at the back of the trailer, but you never let a farmer inside with a cup of tea because they will be there all day. So you have all your meetings in the rain, in the cold, with a tailgate, and it keeps them short because the environment drives that we've just got to get the stuff done really quickly. So it's a bit like in the team in the morning. When you come in as a leader, you come in with a purpose to serve others. You don't come in the morning with this thought, I want to get this done when I arrive at work. Like, that is so delusional, because what you do is you park the car, get off the train, get off the bus, get off your bicycle, you come into the office and you go, I'm going to my desk and I'm going to get this done. In fact, some of you come in like this. If I don't eyeball them, they won't see me. And you try and get to your desk and you're halfway there and somebody goes, if you just got 30 seconds, and subconsciously you're like, oh, and your cortisol goes up just like that because you had this expectation of something you were doing and it was disturbed by somebody coming in at you from the side, and that spikes your cortisol. And then by 10:30, you're like, I've got nothing done. And you're really frustrated. Who has mornings like that? Just don't get anything done because the monkeys come in, the people come in with their monkeys, the people aren't the monkeys. What they have to bring to you is the monkey. So invert that. When you come in, reframe your mornings. When you arrive at work, it's about, what do you need from me today to be successful? Do you need any decisions making? When do you need that done? Get that settled, get everybody settled, delegations out, and then go and do that one piece of work. And so we'll look at how that works, and that works really, really well. So it's, the main thing is being able to debrief the week as well. Make sure every Friday, whether it's with a team or yourself, really step back from the week and go, what was highly successful for me this week? And what is something I don't want to repeat again? And do that every single time. It's the military debrief. Every time we crash a plane, every time we kill a soldier, every time we do something well, we go, what would we do more of and what would we do less of? Every single time, every decision and project. And I think this is where in the civilian world we don't serve ourselves well, because we deliver a really good project, but we're on to the next one. We're already lined up and we don't sit down and take the gold out of what we've just done. So that Friday, that quick review of the week with your team, what worked for you, what didn't work for you. Actually, I had 20 minutes on my own on Tuesday in the little booth, the quiet booth, and it was gold. I got all the stuff done. Okay, so we want more of that. But if not, you'll be back into the hamster wheel next week and you will have lost those moments. So there are things that are really important to think about. The rhythm of that phasic day then goes into after lunch, where our adrenaline and our motivation, our dopamine drops rapidly. So 9 to 10 hours after waking, we are now on a very steep downward spiral of energy. And then you add carbohydrates to your lunch and you're getting a glucose down. So my advice or my recommendations around nutrition at lunchtime is those high good fats and high protein at lunchtime. If you're going to have a steak for the day, have it at lunchtime, because it will take 4 to 6 hours to metabolize that steak. And you can do that over the afternoon, that's fine, but you don't want to be doing that when you're going to bed and you want to drop your metabolism to enter deep sleep. So that steak at 9 o'clock at night with those 2 red wines is completely annihilating your first phase of deep sleep, your glymphatic sleep, which we'll talk about. So lunchtime, low carbs, high protein, good fats, and that will keep you in that energy. And then just use water all afternoon. Just use water and walking or visualizing, get up and look out windows. And that's one of the things you can just from your desk. Just get up. If you feel yourself going, just go to a window and look out. So you're pulling yourself from that 70 to 90 degrees focus or that screen and looking outside, and it's pulling us back and it's decreasing. Because if you're looking from there to there, the subconscious goes, oh, there's no danger, because you're not pinpointing something. It's the same at night. Watch TV before bed, no issue at all, but stay off, if you can, your phones and your iPads that have got your aperture really narrow. Because as soon as your aperture is narrow, I've got to increase my noradrenaline to focus. Closely behind that comes, I'm now tired and I should go to bed, but I'm on a little bit of a roll here with my reels and I'm a little bit stoned on my dopamine, and oh look, I can just reel a little bit faster. And then you're like, like you're literally just watching shit go past your thumb. Like you are, think about it. And you're like, and then it's 11:30 and now I'm really silly. Now I've mucked up my night. I should have been in bed much earlier. And now I've got stress response. And so therefore I'm not sleeping. And it's a cycle of doom. And unfortunately, women, we're really bad at this. We sit on the couch and we go at about 9:30 at night. Hopefully everyone in the family's gone to bed by then. And you're sitting on your own and you go, I'm going to have a glass of wine because this is the only time I get to myself. Who said that? I did this for 15 years, so I am the self-righteous, reinvented, not drinking at night girl. But now I've got the data behind it. See, that's your phone throwing itself on the ground, knowing. It's like, I'm out of here. Can I leave? Because she's trying to get me not to use it. But we're actually not serving ourselves. So we're much better to get a journal out and just drop down what's in the front of our mind. We're much better to sit there and put some AirPods on and listen to some non-sleep deep rest or some meditation, some woo-woo stuff, which actually is steeped in science. So all of those things are really important for us. And that's the afternoon, creative work, soft work in the afternoon, big critical decision making. So if you've got to sign a big contract or you've got a difficult client and difficult news to give to a client, you do that in the morning. The afternoon is not the time to have performance conversations or pass on difficult conversations, because neither of you have got the adrenaline, the energy, nor the motivation. And so you will be reactive and you'll get a much more friction-based response because you don't have the right neurotransmitters. So the afternoon is soft, it's creative, it's just filing, it's emailing, it's all those things. Morning, big decision making, sign those contracts, difficult conversations, get those done while our energy and our motivation's really high. So it's really important that we think about our whole programming of our day based on our neurobiology. And then our evenings is what I call embedding. So we've got activation, consolidation, and then embedding, which we are going to talk about rituals and routines to get into that high performance sleep. So we're going to segue from there into, and as I said, very sorry about having paper. Sleep. I will start with, do you know the difference between adenosine and melatonin? Anyone know what adenosine is? Have you heard the term? Everyone know what melatonin is? Anyone supplement melatonin? Occasionally, a little stoner. So adenosine, when you wake up in the morning and all day your mitochondria are burning energy. You've got a car, you put petrol in and you get fumes or exhaust out. Adenosine is the fumes or the exhaust from your burning energy, from the fuel you've been pouring in. And adenosine builds up over the day for about 16 hours and it pushes sleep. So when you think about it, you've had dinner, you sit on the couch and you go a little bit noddy. Does anyone go a little bit fully asleepy at night time? Yeah, that's adenosine. But we misconstrue, we misunderstand that signal and we think, I've got enough melatonin in my sleep signal, I'm tired, I'll go to bed. You are tired, but you don't have enough melatonin, which is your pull. Melatonin is the neurotransmitter that pulls you through the night. So it takes about 4 hours for our lymphatic system to metabolize that adenosine and get rid of it all. So about 4 hours after going to bed, you're like, does anyone do that? And then you go to the toilet, then you turn on a light. Oh, and then you're done, and then you're like, oh, I'll pick up my phone. And then we're here. And it compounds that sort of work. So adenosine is the debris that pushes sleep. It's metabolized within about 4 hours of going to sleep, and then your system is clear. Melatonin is the neurotransmitter that signals it's time to sleep. And it is it's triggered by light. It's triggered by light. It's a signal. So light is our primary trigger for sleep, both at night and in the morning. So here's the key, is that the upper neurons in the eye receive the angle of the light. So I'll say that again. The upper neurons in the eye receive the angle of the light. So while you're in your home, and right now we're sitting here, our subconscious brain believes the sun, because look, the sun's up, and it's between midday and 2 p.m, or between 11 a.m. 2 p.m, wherever you are under those lights in your house at 10 o'clock at night. So your 8-year-old, your 7-year-old, your 16-year-old thinks the sun's still up subconsciously, their primal brain, because of all these marvellous LEDs that we've got in our homes. So we're not ever getting a signal for melatonin that says now it's time to make more melatonin. Melatonin peaks at about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, the most that we have in our system. And we only ever, over a course of a 24-hour period, would ever peak at about 0.3 of a milligram of melatonin. Does anyone know what their supplement milligrams are for their melatonin? 3 for you. So 0.3, and you're putting 3 in. So what's that, tenfold? Is that tenfold? 100-fold. Tenfold. Tenfold. It's a lot. So I didn't do math. So you're putting tenfold the melatonin that your body would naturally make, which means that you won't have metabolized that melatonin overnight, and you might wake up in the morning feeling a little bit jet lagged, feeling a little bit groggy, feeling a little bit in the morning, and we'll go, I need more melatonin. But do you? The across the counter in North America is 5 to 10 milligrams, so 10 to 30 fold of what we need. The key to melatonin is that if we use the lighting and the environment, you probably will find you don't need supplementary melatonin. And if you did, it would be to get is it capsule and is it powder? Yeah. It would be break it apart, split it out like your little cocaine, get your razor. And just do, if you can, about 0.5 of a milligram, but about 4 hours before sleep. So we don't take melatonin at sleep time because it's too late for it to do what it needs to do. It actually delays our morning, it affects our morning. So by taking about 0.5 of a milligram about 3 to 4 hours before sleep, what we're doing is saying to our rest of our body, oh, it's time for us to get on this melatonin, and our natural melatonin will stay online. 3 milligram, within 48 hours, my body's probably going to stop making all my natural melatonin. It doesn't need to. So I can never get off those melatonin supplements as a generalization, because as soon as I go off them, I don't sleep. Some of it's psychosomatic and some of it's because I've had too much overload of melatonin. So be really, really careful about melatonin. and I've got some good collateral on that. So sleep, the main thing is the lighting. So if you use wall lighting or lamps, what you're trying to do, overhead lights, the sun is up. Set the sun in your house by getting the angle of the light to enter your eye as if you were watching sunset. And use orange or yellow toned light. You can use red, but it looks a bit hinky. I got some blue light blocking bulbs from a place in Hamilton, $85 each. Phenomenal. They're red. I could have got $2 ones from the red light shop, from the $2 shop, done the same thing. And we live really rurally up here behind Levin in the Tararuas. And my neighbour sent me a message the next day and said, what's going on at your place? The whole, from the road driving, no one's got any curtains, it's just red lights. And they're like, what are you doing? And I put these red light bulbs or these blue light blocking bulbs in our bedroom. And my husband, who's 70, is like, I don't think so. Like, we're not just doing that. So we've gone to orange tone now, which is much more suitable for old people. But it's the yellow tone, the orange tone, which is a slow wave. Blue white light is a fast wave, very short, fast wave. Stimulates the brain. So your phone, blue light, stimulation. Blue light blocking glasses are great, but they still generally don't block your overhead light in your house. It's probably getting in behind the lens. So they're good, but not great. So it's the trick, the one trick I'd be doing is changing my my overhead lights. The second one for sleep is to look at your eating of your dinner, what time you're doing that, and your alcohol consumption. So my professional advice is that we should all drink at lunchtime. It's good, isn't it? You like that? I like that too. I really like that. So because it's 4 to 6 hours to metabolize wine. So I'm not saying don't drink. I love alcohol. I'm a military officer. I'm really good at it. And we don't quit. So what I've done now is I just drink it in the morning. No, I don't. I choose that I will have some wine on the day that I know I've had good nutrition, I know I've hydrated well, and I know I've done some exercise. So I will have that, not as a treat, but because I'm having a social event and I choose that. But what I won't do is just do back to back to back to back. So normally, I left my Aura ring, it's on charge, but normally I've had an Aura ring now for 9 years, I'm on 4th gen. And to give you some data really quickly, really? Oh my good Lord. You talk too much. If you look at the data, so the resting pulse, what we're looking for resting pulse and heart rate variability. Does anyone know their heart rate variability? Does anyone follow it? Do you know how they measure it? Do you remember? You don't know how they measure it?
It's the time between each beat.
Oh, look at you go, my favourite student. So heart rate variability should be very, very high, and your resting pulse should be very, very low. So resting pulse is measured in a 1 minute period of time. Heart rate variability is measured in, it is the longest gap between any two beats in a 1 minute period of time. And it's measured in milliseconds. So for example, in my 60s, my resting pulse generally is about 57 overnight. My heart rate variability is generally about 45 to 50. It's quite high. I do a little bit of, I do quite a lot of work at altitude in the Alpine, even though I'm like a little angry snowball. But I do those like the GOAT, the 25K, Alpine runs and stuff like that. So I'm quite fit for my age, but robust. So my resting pulse generally 57 and my heart rate variability around that 55 with spikes of 120, which are really, really, really good for my age. 1 glass of wine, and I'm not talking the bucket that you poured before. Where are you? The bucket you poured before, like this. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about a pissant amount, like 125 ml. If that was wine, and this one might be, so that one might be, but that would cause my resting pulse to go from 57 to no lower than 80 all night. One pathetic glass of wine, like 125 ml, and my heart rate variability to go from that average of 45, 50 to probably somewhere between 16 and 18. So what that means that every single night that I drink a glass of wine, I'm using 25% more heartbeats that night than I would have the night that I didn't drink. And accumulate that over your lifetime and you're shortening your life by a lot. 7 to 5 years, a consistent 3 to 5 drinks a week, you will be starting to see some detriment to both your neural pathways and your longevity from your heart. So I'm not saying don't drink, let's just be really aware of the detriment, and particularly to sleep. So really quickly, sleep cycles. The first phase of sleep, which is generally deep sleep, pre-2 a.m. is deep sleep, and you'll get 90-minute phases. It's actually from about 108 minutes right down through to about 83 minutes, but we say 90 minutes. In that first phase of sleep, you'll get glymphatic sleep. Glymphatic sleep is where the glial in the brain shrinks. Now, I want you to think about this. The glial in the brain shrinks by about 40%, and your brain cavity fills up with spinal fluid. It's like an alien, right? So your brain cavity fills up with spinal fluid, then 92% of the neurons in your brain get into synchrony, and they bilge pump all the toxins out of your brain. It's phenomenal. Like, think about that. If you miss that phase of sleep because your metabolism is still metabolizing alcohol or red meat or a big meal, or you've got too much cortisol, you miss that phase of glymphatic sleep. So therefore your brain doesn't clean itself. And in the morning, you wake up in a room that there's been a party with all those bottles and glasses and cigarette ashtrays from the olden days, and you try and live life over that debris the next day. And it is a cumulative debris, which is when we start to feel this burnout feeling, this overwhelm feeling. So that is deep sleep. We need to nail it. I've got a whole bunch of hacks I'm going to send out to these guys, all my videos that you can link to and look at all those videos. And they're little short 3 to 5 minutes for this generation. Because if I sent you an hour, you'd be asleep within 3 and looking at your phone or your watch. And then the next phases of sleep, you have 2 phases of deep sleep. You have glymphatic sleep, and then you have cellular repair and BDNF, bone-derived neurotrophic factor. You're building bones and muscles. And then you are running into REM sleep. And REM sleep is where you will actually be de-anxietying yourself. You will be decreasing your stress because your brain will be absolutely uploading everything you've learned and putting it in the right place at the right time. The problem is that deep sleep anchors to our normal bedtime. So if we're normally in bed every night at 9 o'clock or 10:30, that's when deep sleep starts. If I go to bed tonight at 11:30, my brain will go, no, we've missed that glymphatic sleep because it was anchored to our normal bedtime. So we will just go into the next phase of sleep. REM sleep, on the other hand, slides with us. So if we normally go to bed at 9:30, there'll be some small levels of REM sleep, and it will crank up about 2 a.m. through till about 5 a.m. Generally about 5 to 6 hour period of really high REM sleep. 2 phases. Phase 1, it is lining up all your ducks, sorting out all the information, discarding stuff that's not important. Phase 2, it's context, and it's taking out blame and shame, and it's realizing it's okay, I got enough done, and it's collating your files. The problem is that slips. So if we go to bed late at 11 o'clock, we've had some alcohol, we ate late, we're just stressed, we wake up at 2 o'clock, we sort of do 20 minutes maybe on our phone, we do something silly like that, we get through, and actually we've missed the final phase of REM sleep, which is when the therapy happens, when we actually decrease our stress, because it's slid with us. So most of us are, not only are we not cleaning our brain, but we're not doing therapy sleep. So we've really got to anchor those sleep phases. So my key takeaways in that, because there's so much more that I could talk to that I just have run out of time. Rituals and routines, make sure you do the same thing every single night in the same order before you go to bed. So get your lights off as early as you can, get side lamps on, and if you go, I'm going to have a hot shower, because a hot shower actually decreases your core body temperature. And we want to decrease our core body temperature because it opens all our capillaries and sucks all the heat out about 45 minutes later. So don't have a hot shower and then go to bed, because you'll be like a little sweaty polar bear. But about 45 minutes, and you want to decrease that core body temperature. You want to do the same thing in the same order so that the body doesn't go, the brain doesn't go, oh, we cleaned our teeth last night and then we did our journal. Tonight you're doing journal, and then do. So every time you change something just slightly, the body goes, oh, shiny shit, ooh. And it's dopamine, and now there's dopamine, there can't be melatonin. So there's some real gifts and skills at being able to decrease that stress response, get sleep, and if you sleep properly, I can assure you that your day doesn't look anything like it is. We haven't even got to the impact model, but that's okay, we'll do it another time. Based on what we've talked about, what are your questions for me? Yes.
So
Can I have another drink?
Debating that. That's one of the questions. So you were talking about how you have the drink, you half the or double the beats. I've often wondered, are you allocating a certain amount of beats in your life, and once you're through, that's your life gone? Because you said it shorts your life by, 5-7 years.
It certainly can. I don't know. As long as you stay fit and you serve your body, which is through good nutrition, keeping your cardiovascular system. That's the main thing, is keep your cardiovascular system high, so that you are putting yourself under cardiovascular stress at least once or twice a week. So that's sprint training, walking fast. Doesn't have to be much. For women, particularly menopausal women, just carry a weight. Just get a weighted vest or a crappy old backpack with 10 kg in it, carry weight. You'll get impact, which will increase bone-derived nootropic factor, BDNF, which will increase bone density, but it will also help. I don't think there's a definitive answer to that. My gut feeling is, be really careful what we wish for. Yeah.
In one of the videos, you were talking about how you were looking into sleep, and some people were saying there's this core time. So you have to get all your good sleep in before midnight, and you have to start then. And then you were questioning, well, hang on, do you? Can you do it at another time?
Yeah.
And then you just said routine. So have you come to any conclusion?
Yeah, conclusion is, as long as you anchor your sleep. So Dr. Gina Poe, who's out of Berkeley, believes absolutely that the best sleep is pre-midnight. And your grandmothers would have said every hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep afterwards. That's always been said, right? So she's got really strong data saying pre-midnight. I try and pre-midnight everything. I'm a 10 o'clock on the dot with a 6:30, 7 a.m. wake up. But there's some evidence also, which is Dr. Matthew, come on. I know his name just gone like that, just like that. Watch my video. He will tell you, as long as you're anchoring, if you go to bed every night at 1 a.m. and you get up at 9 a.m., then your body will get into those rituals and routines. So there's some challenge. As long as it's the anchoring that's the important thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The travelling vibe. So you're off gallivanting around the world,
Yep.
jet lag and all of that.
Yep.
So you're naturally changing
Yep.
your anchoring time.
So you can decrease jet lag really cleverly with lighting on your hotel, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing a doctorate next year. I'm starting a doctorate, which is what you do when you're old, right? Because I want to have an influence into hotels, because if you go into a hotel and you travel a lot, does anyone here travel a lot? And if you're going through different time zones, not just within New Zealand, take your own bulbs. And you literally go into your hotel and you put in your orange bulbs beside your lamps. So you've already got your sunset, and you take a night light and put that into your bathroom. The biggest killer of melatonin in your world is the toilet light. So you go to the bathroom at night, turn on the light, it destroys your melatonin in about 0.4 of a second. So what's taken you an hour and a half to 2 hours to build to a really good level for sleep, one bright light, and your 3-year-old is just completely, and then they go, Mummy, Daddy, I can't sleep. And then your tone of voice might change, and that might cause them a stress response, and now we're in the spiral of doom. So, there's a whole bunch of hacks on that. Sir?
That's fantastic and awesome takeaways as well. So I try and do as much as I possibly can with that stuff. However, I have these terrorists in my life called kids, and they F my world up almost every night. So I'm right in the thick of it, 8 and 5, and 8-year-old's awesome. 5-year-old's a real jerk.
It's from his father's side.
I'm happy to start. In fact, just take it for free. But I think the point is, it's like he was up from last night's cake to some is he's been fantastic for a bit. Shit when he was younger. I got into this really poor habit where 3 a.m. bang, wide awake. Even if I'd go to bed at that anchor time, same time every night, like 9 o'clock.
Yep.
I'm probably preaching to the converted here, where there's lots of other parents in the same situation.
Yep.
I got myself out of that, and now he's reverted back. Where last night it was chopping chain from 11.
Yep. So my challenge to you is, what is your lighting doing in your house at 6:30 at night, 7 o'clock at night?
Oh, apart from that big one outside, it's
Yep.
like we
Side lamps.
Like everything at 7 a.m. Everything gets.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, 7 p.m. Everything's
Yep.
brought down.
So if-
lights off.
You can get overhead lights off, rituals and routines, look at what you're feeding them, and also look at any use of devices for 2 to 3 hours before bed. That dopamine response in children is massively high. And then the other thing is, how do you not respond to them and make 3 a.m. a really good time to get up out of bed? Because generally when we get up, even for ourselves, we often reward ourselves at 3 a.m. by going, Daddy will just read you a story to get you back to sleep. And the kids going, I'm fucking terrorist here. Like, I can get Dad out of bed every night at 3 a.m. and he reads me a story. How cool is that? So we're going to be really careful about the reward system and what we do. Often we'll lay down with them and we'll stay, and we're doing the same thing. We're teaching them that you can get mummy and daddy to do almost what you want. So there's this awful stage, and we won't go into it now, where you can actually break that habit, but it's pretty hard work. But you've got to be really consistent with that. Don't read in bed. I would read no stories to them in bed. I would have them in a beanbag beside bed and read the story beside bed, and then from that story in their beanbag they'd go and clean their teeth with the nightlight on in the bathroom so that there's no bright lights, clean their teeth, and then they would go and lay down for the purpose of resting, not going to sleep. You don't have to go to sleep, darling, just lay down. I just want you to lay down. And remember when we had babies, we used to have those little mobiles and we just used to hypnotise the little suckers. They go to bed. And so we just need to be really careful about exploring those rituals and routines going into bed. And if he's changing, I'd be curious to see what the blue light access to, what the devices are, and then what you've fed him during the day.
And you know what, you're going to make them too scared to wake you up.
No, but we'll come back to that. Give me a call.
Come on, we can do it to just not
broken, but I didn't want to wake you up.
Honestly, if anyone here wants to just book 30-minute strategy session with me, honestly, just go on and just book a free session and let's carry that conversation on that 30 minutes. What can I answer for you?
So firstly, thanks from my dad for solving the big light versus little light argument that's been around 50 years.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier about in the morning is the most focused time for everyone. If you're a manager, that's true of the people that you look after as well. So I tend to shift my one-on-ones to the afternoon, which means I have the hard conversations in the afternoon, but they can focus on what they need.
Can they? Are they ready for that hard conversation in the afternoon from a neurobiology point of view? Yeah. So you're looking after, yeah. So, and not everybody has high energy in the morning. Different people peak at different times, so let's get that right. So not everybody is the same. Could you compromise and do some big work from 9 to 11 and have those difficult conversations between 11 and 12:30? So you're still on the edge of that while, just before that afternoon type thing. So be curious about how you might do it.
And then the follow-up is a lot of people who work in operations and tech. It's really nice to think about having an anchored sleep and doing all those things, but the expectation on them is that they're on a call.
Yep.
That they
Yep.
naturally live in a reactive world of the customer's pissed, something's broken, go do it.
Yeah, how do I fix that? Yeah. So it's those micro moments in between. So it's taking those moments. So you've got somebody that's got a call out at 1:30 a.m. And we teach pilots, we teach a lot of entrepreneurs and founders I work with, how do we biphasic sleep? So we're all monophasic sleepers now. We were multiphasic as children, as babies, biphasic as toddlers, afternoon sleep, evening sleep, and now we're monophasic, technically. So if you take a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, how do I get you back into a really good quality sleep by 3 a.m. when you come off that call? Most of us don't. We come off that call, we're a little bit agitated, we pick up our phones, we might have a drink, we might feed, and now we've just said to the brain, really good time to be awake, because you go down to the kitchen, you shove food in your mouth. So I'm going to keep producing dopamine and stop you from sleeping. So the biphasic sleeping is if you have to take that call at 2 o'clock in the morning or have that call out, then you have to repeat exactly the same rituals and routines to get you back to sleep for the next phase of sleep. So you go back, you might have to have another hot shower. You might have to clean your teeth again. You might have to clean your face again. You might have to write your journal again at 3 a.m. in the morning when you just want to die, but you go and do that because now the brain is anchored to that behavior and it knows what's coming next. So that's the same with traveling. You do, when you go to a hotel room, you put everything of yours on that counter exactly as it is at home. So your face skin, your toothbrush, your shaver, whatever, it's in exactly the same order. so that the brain doesn't have to be curious. It just comes, oh, there it is. Put everything in your cupboard in your hotel room exactly as if you were at home. My sports shoes, there you go, my such and such. So we're decreasing overwhelm as rapidly as we can. Yeah, cool. My last question?
I was going to say, I find sometimes at night, it gets to a point where I've woken up, you know, I'm so tired I can't even get out of bed, just lying there going, bloody hell, you know, just what to do. And I read a lot that says someone just get up and be
Get out of bed.
Go through that routine.
Yep. Go back out to the lounge, sit in a chair, pick up a journal and a pencil with a soft light over your shoulder, write stuff down and sit there physically until you're like, oh, you know, I'm pretty tired.
And that's it, because I do separate in my mind tired and sleepy.
Yeah.
So I'm already tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. But at some point, sleepiness kicks in and I go, that feels like a signal to go back.
Yeah, yeah. So do that. If we were doing cognitive behavioural therapy with you for insomnia, what we would do is we'd say to you, keep a sleep diary for 2 weeks and really look at every time you wake up and you look at that clock, you write it down. And we'd look at it over 2 weeks and we come back, okay, so you sleep 5.5 hours, but you're in bed for 10 hours. So what we'll do is we'll say to you, we're going to give you 5 hours in bed. That's all we're going to give you is 5 hours in bed. It's torture. Like I put you to bed at 1 a.m, you have to stay up to 1 a.m. and you get up at 6 a.m. And then we're going to do the same thing, keep a diary, and we're going to look at it. Actually, I slept properly for 5 hours or for 4 hours 45. And then we're going to go out 15 minutes and we're going to slowly until your brain learns that it goes to bed to sleep, not to think. Yeah. And it's torturous, but within about 5 or 6 weeks, we've literally normally with CBTIs cured insomnia pretty quickly. But it's our perception is we need more sleep when we're feeling tired, but often we need less sleep when we're feeling tired so that our body learns to use our sleep phase really, really well.
Dreaming. I've noticed when I nap, I remember my dreams, but when I sleep, I don't. And you were saying when you first go to bed, you get the lymphatic kind of response.
Yep, but before that, you get a phase which you'll get in napping, which is a halfway between, there's actually 4 phases of sleep and there's 2 before deep sleep. So there's that first 3 to 5 minutes or 3 to 7 minutes, and then there's about an 11 to 15 minute phase where it's almost hallucinogenic. And that's some of the stuff that you'll be remembering in napping because you haven't then uploaded anything. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Any last?
I've got a question about coffee. You encouraged us to drink 5 coffees before 12 o'clock.
No, I encourage you to drink the same amount of coffee that you would normally drink in a day. And if that's only 2, please only have 2.
Oh, okay. So is 5 okay?
Yeah, shit, yes.
So what about the other kind of health consequences drinking?
Very little. Urinates out really quickly. Very good for attention. Unless you get jittery and it's detrimental to you, then don't do it. But if it's what you don't want to do is have detox off caffeine by just going, I'm going cold. I mean, you can detox off caffeine, but it's really addictive. Like it's phenomenally addictive. But it is performance enhancing. Like it's really, really good for attention and focus and energy. So it's a really cool drug. But it would be about what best, just trial it. What best is 3 the max. 2's my max. 2 of my Before You Speak, MCG, can't remember the other one, and ginseng is phenomenal. But 2's my max. After that, I start getting really jittery, and I'm already quite high energy.
Does the same work for wine? Because you have 1 glass of wine and your heart goes up, but if you had like 3, would the heart go up just the same amount?
You said 1.
So like, like where are we going
So-
with wine?
No. No.
Exercise.
Yes.
When's
So really good question. So when is the best time to exercise? Two things to look at there. What is the purpose of the exercise? If it's cardiovascular and it's high adrenaline, then as early as you can in the day. Sets you up really, really well. Those people that often can't get to a class at the gym until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So some of my elite athletes that I work with or I have worked with St Kilda's in Melbourne, the AFL team. They're playing games till 11 o'clock at night, but they're getting 100 meg of caffeine given to them during that game. So not only are they coming back stoned on caffeine at 1 a.m. in the morning, but they've got adrenaline. About an hour and a half minimum from a big cardiovascular system to get the adrenaline out of your system so that you're ready to start looking at sleep. So if I was going to the gym at 7 to 8 o'clock at night or 7 to 9 p.m, I'd be having my main meal at lunchtime. I'd be having a light protein snack before my gym, and I'd be having a protein drink after, so I've got a light metabolism load. And then I'd be sitting at home doing soft things. It could be watching TV. It's no issue at all watching TV with dim lights because it's a wide aperture. Just make sure it's not, I don't know, something that's really exciting. And then those rituals and routines. But you need about an hour and a half after the gym to get that adrenaline out before that melatonin signal can come in. Make sense?
What's the latest you should eat?
3 to 4 hours before bed, depending on metabolism. Like there's some really people that I don't like at all who can metabolize food really quickly. Horrible people.
What should you eat for dinner? Like high protein or?
Yeah, look, it depends on where you sit, but you need a protein, but we don't have enough protein in our system. So we're looking at, I've just listened to a podcast coming down specifically on this with Dr. Peter Attia, about 2 grams of protein per kilo of ideal body weight is great, but 1.8 to 2 grams of protein per ideal, and we just don't get that unless you're purposely activating. So, but in the evening, it's really important to have a complex carbohydrate like a kumara or a pumpkin or something that's got high fiber, but the carbohydrate helps produce serotonin, and serotonin is the precursor to melatonin. So a complex carb at night is very, very good for sleep. But that's why when you have complex carbs at lunchtime, you want to sleep after lunch. So the precursor, serotonin is a satisfaction neurotransmitter. And what it does is you sitting at the end of the day going, oh, that was a good day. Look what I achieved, tick, tick, with a sense of satisfaction from your day. It is the drug that's released after sex. So dopamine is not released after sex, which is a pleasure drug, a motivation, but dopamine isn't released after sex. It's serotonin, which is the and why it's like that is because you need serotonin to help with the melatonin signal, and the satisfaction is, and this is really interesting about the human population, is that when women are stressed, our bodies say to us, never have sex. Don't do that. Because there's no food, obviously, because cortisol to the subconscious body means famine. Because the biggest threat to human over 20,000 years was famine. So cortisol to the subconscious primal brain says that there must be a famine. And therefore you would not have children or a baby while there's a famine. So men, this is just so you know. So we go, I don't freaking think so. Men, on the other hand, if there was famine, need to lay their seed, and they would shag anything that moves because they need to populate the world before they die from famine. So we have completely opposite primal responses to stress and sex. Just solved your marriage problems, didn't I? There you go, just like that. So that's what it is we're like, oh, I freaking don't think so. I've got 3 loads of washing, 14 children and work to do. And you're like, do you want it? You're like, you don't like... because your subconscious is going, we're about to die because we're stressed, therefore we should quickly spread our seed. So there you go. No, nice note to end on, sorry about that. Oh my God, we're just always terrible. Yeah.
Speechless.
Again.
So thank you very much. I hope everyone has learned something more than men spreading their seed.
Sorry.
What we will do, I think, is we'll take the recording of this, if you don't mind, and we'll drop it into...
And edit it.
And edit it, yes.
And edit it, Jono.
And what I think we can do is drop this into an AI tool that we've got, and we'll reduce it down to some bullet points and send that out to everyone who's attended tonight. And
Yeah.
just so you've got kind of a worksheet to go
And
with.
we'll send you out the links to all the videos that go with each of the topics, and certainly the impact model really quickly. It's a model based on Eisenhower's matrix of urgent and important, but with my thought leadership. And it's around value and control. So how do you run the rhythm of the day with big squeezes where you've got high cortisol, high adrenaline, and then there's soft moments where you're dropping that physically out of you. So about 30 minutes, that cortisol's gone. So you can sustain performance for that 80 to 100 hours. So yeah, I've got some videos on that I'll release to you. It's a really, really good one to look at, is how to design those days. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Despite what Sally said, you're more than welcome to join us for a drink. Afterwards. I was thinking this, and there's obviously some food. So thank you, Sally.
My pleasure.
Thanks very much.